Mente abierta, corazón puro.
Open Mind and Pure Heart. Hello everyone and welcome to Open Mind and Pure Heart. On this occasion we will talk about a fascinating topic from the theosophical point of view, the purpose of living. Last time we spoke of ancient wisdom and what today is called divine wisdom theosophy. We will know how modern this ancient wisdom is, because theosophy is the search for truth. That truth, which is man's eternal questions of whom, when, how and where. It is a constant investigation of these timeless truths, and the answers are found in the ancient wisdom that humans possess. More and more findings from this research are found. For example, in ancient times, the secret teaching said that the smallest particles of matter are like the solar system, and that every particle of matter is permeated with life. Indeed it is. And they exist only to serve as a vehicle for life. Science has verified how protons and neutrons rotate on the nucleus of the atom, exactly as the planets do around the sun. It is as if it were a miniature solar system. Each atom is full of life and contains an amazing energy. It's amazing! Another example would be how the ancients taught that the gods sustained the world. They were energies personified in masculine and feminine. But now science calls these energies the positive and negative forces of nature, and they are what we know as positive electricity and negative electricity or magnetism. Well, once again, from the higher planes, the masters of wisdom in the ancient schools made use of telepathy as a means of communication, although the popular Berg for many centuries mocked the idea of telepathy or transfer of thoughts. In 1938, Dr. J. B. Rain wrote the book, What is Extrasensory Perception? In his parasitology lab at Duke University, he demonstrated the reality of telepath. From all these results, ancient and recent, theosophy uses it as a source to extract its material. It is exciting to be alive in this moment, and to see how everything that is discovered is added to the grand scheme of ancient wisdom. I wonder how some of you. Is Theosophia a science? Theosophy is not a science, nor a religion, nor philosophy. Although it contains all three elements, it is not a science, but it is still scientific, seeking and investigating what can be discovered, the material and psychological side of life. That is what science deals with. It is not a religion, and yet it is religious, in the sense that its students consciously seek understanding and unite with the divine spark, which is within each of us, and that is the bond with God. This happens when we recognize the great truth that every human creature or not, we are an identical link with the deity. The whole similarly theosophy is not a philosophy, although it has the philosophical force in recognizing total knowledge, and its speculation about what is still unknown. But before I continue, I remind you that you can write to us with your comments to theosophypodcast@gmail.com. We will be attentive to your emails, and we will respond as soon as possible. Well, here's a question we've been asked, and it says, you say that theosophy explains what man's purpose in living is, what it is, what makes life worth living. It is a good question, however. I think the heavy problems of the world and daily life baffles us, and that's why we ask these kinds of questions and more. There are those who say I did not ask to be born. They are convinced that this frees us from all responsibility. Others feel that the responsibility is fine, but believe that the burden is too heavy. It helps us all to know something of what our purpose of everything is. The purpose is growth, a growth in character, and a clear choice and understanding. Because you never sit still, we are always on the move, not even in a lifetime. We are constantly growing and progressing in some way or another, and experience itself is your teacher. You may not think so, but the chances are 1,000 to 1 that you are a better person than you were 10 years ago. Wiser and more understanding. It is the same opportunity that you will have in the next 10 or 20 or more years. If you wish, and when we have the slightest desire to improve ourselves, each experience penetrates your consciousness, leaving its mark. It is really you who is doing the growth and evolution, and who will eventually reincarnate into a more suitable body to express your greater intelligence, and with finer sensibilities. That makes life worth living. What makes life worth living? Actually, it is life itself that does everything, because it shows that you are the creator of your own future. The more you grow in this life, the more talent you will develop, the more human empathy you have, and the wider the field of opportunities will be in your next incarnation. But if you run away from life, life will escape you, and you will continue to live in a monotonous routine and with a veil of ignorance, which does not allow you to see anything. But that cannot be, because it depends on oneself. Everything depends on you. To be perfect means not only to be perfectly good, but perfectly efficient and perfectly wise. We must be clear that we cannot go from what we are now to the stage of perfection unless in the few years that we lack in this life. This would be a huge leap in a short time, but the divine plan gives us the time we need to accomplish the purpose. Notice well that man grows and experiences life after life, if you observe well in yourself the different stages in the growth of the soul. You will see the childish soul in the primitive and the wild, the young soul in the crude and criminal. Perhaps the adolescent soul is skillful, intelligent, and conceited. You have to see the soul in the best professions, social workers, religious, and idealists. We must not forget to see the ancient soul, great philosophers, scientists and artists, the saints, the sages and leaders of the world. So they are all stages in the growth of the soul. In man and wherever we are, we will see younger souls on the steps below you, and older souls on the steps above you. It's that easy, because we're all climbing towards the ultimate goal, which is perfection. Now that is the inner part of the purpose of living. But there is another side, the outer side, of the great purpose. And this is the domain of the physical and material world. And through many lives on a physical level we slowly come to understand that you have to work with the laws of nature and with intelligence. Let them be victims of the material world and begin to overcome it. That's a big task to do. We said that humanity is growing, increasing its dominion over the material world, no longer working on foot or horseback, nor going on the dusty roads. Now it has mastered those problems by creating more and different types of transportation, and it is not afraid of thunder or lightning. It now understands that it is electrical energy, heat and light in its inner life. It finds its growth in the increase of philanthropy and social services. Gradually self-centeredness gives way to altruism. All this is a reflection of a free soul, and through the problems and experiences that arise, that we do uniquely. Everyone makes their own decisions and then faces the consequences of their choice, and that is when one learns. There are even times when one learns more from a mistake than from a success. For example, Henry Ford once said, "I have never made a mistake in my life, because doing things the wrong way, you have to convert them to the right one, and this is a success." Through mistakes and successes, man makes the effort for the mind and heart to grow and evoke his qualities, eventually leading him to his goal, the goal of perfection. And self-mastery is that purpose of man to live. A theosophical conclusion is to cite that the soul of man is mortal. His future is growth and splendor, which has no limits. How beautiful is a great truth. The life-giving principle within and without us is eternal and beneficial. It is not heard or seen, but is perceived by the man who desires perception. Each man is his own absolute lawgiver, dreamer of his glory or sorrows for himself, the believer of his life, his reward and his punishment. There is also a purpose to live, and it is by studying, understanding the laws of nature, being and acting as the being of all creatures. It is virtuous physically, because the theosophist is the one who does theosophy. And I wonder for you, what is the purpose of living? Remember to write to us with your comments on theosophypodcast@gmail.com. And week by week, we will be with all of you with more of these truths, which have been taught through the centuries, and to this day continue to spread. The true sophist does not belong to any cult or sect. Always keep in mind that perseverance and patience are a virtue. Thank you all for your patience, and see you next time in this Your Open Mind and Pure Heart series.
Mente abierta, corazón puro.
This esoteric podcast was brought by Crotona Institute, South California, and Theosophy Society in America. Open mind and pure heart.